Hello, and welcome to the Health Technology Podcast. I'm Christine Winoto, Director of the Rosamond Institute at the University of California, San Francisco. Our guest today is Amanda French, co-founder and CEO of Cadence Digital. Cadence Digital is one of the selected company for the 2018 Rosamond Innovators. Do you know that 1 out of 10 women on the pill have an unplanned pregnancy each year? That's because they miss taking doses when they should. And it turns out they may not even be aware they are missing a dose. Cadence Digital helps women stay in charge of their reproductive health with a phone app that talks to a hardware case containing birth control pills. Cadence Digital was launched out of the Stanford Biodesign program. They had an interesting journey looking for unmet needs, first in aging, then in the NICU, and ultimately finding the greatest need before birth even happens. They recently closed their first pre-seed funding round this past summer. Enjoy the talk. Thank you for joining me today. You founded Cadence Digital at the end of your Biodesign program at Stanford. Can you tell us what problems are Cadence Digital trying to solve?
Our mission really is to empower women in their reproductive journey. And when we were in Biodesign, we discovered there's a really significant unmet need in the space of contraceptive management. We were floored to learn that 1 out of 10 women on the pill have an unplanned pregnancy each year while relying on birth control pills. That amounts to nearly 1 million unplanned pregnancies in the US. And when we looked at the reason that's happening, we saw the reason is really simple. Women have very busy, dynamic lives, and it's hard to do anything at the same time each day. Unfortunately, birth control pills are no exception. So we learned nearly 80% of women will miss at least one pill per month, and it really leads to so much stress and anxiety. But when we looked at the technology landscape for managing birth control pills, we saw it really hasn't changed since the 50s. We have packaging, and people are setting alarms on their phone and reminders, but still there are just so many ways to forget the pill and not really realize what to do after that. And so we saw this opportunity to create Cadence, which is really a reproductive healthcare platform that empowers women to manage and get better control around their birth control pills. So our first product is an app that enables women to monitor their pills, and it comes with connected hardware. And that's really what differentiates us, is that we have hardware which enables women to track their pills and just get much better insights into how they're doing, to get reminders and feedback on if and when the pill is working or not for them.
And you mentioned earlier that most women forgot to take at least one pill a month. What is the impact of that missed pill?
That's a great question. So in perfect use, the pill is 99.5% effective, but that efficacy rate really depends on taking the pill at exactly the same time each day. So with each pill that somebody misses or even is late with, the efficacy of the pill goes down. And the way the pill works is it suppresses ovulation. And so with each missed pill, and it depends on where a woman is in her cycle, but with each missed pill, it just increases the risk that somebody could ovulate. And so that's why on average, with all of the missed pills that are happening to women each month, the average effectiveness of the pill is only 91%. Okay. And that's really because of the increased risk of ovulation when somebody misses that dose.
To inform some of those who never took birth control pill before, do women have to take the pill every day for 365 days, or is it a few weeks in a month?
That's a great question, too. So there are a few different types of birth control pills. With one type which has estrogen, and that's the more common type of pill, women will typically take the pill each day for 21 days, and then they'll have a placebo week where they're taking sugar pills for 7 days. So a typical cycle on the pill is 28 days, with 3 of those weeks being active. However, there's another type of medication which is progestin only, and that doesn't have estrogen. So it's much more sensitive. Women have to take that pill each day as well, but their window during which they have to take it is really only plus or minus a few hours. So even if someone's supposed to take the pill in the morning and they take it in the afternoon or the evening, they're at a very high risk of having an unplanned pregnancy. The placebo pill is interesting because it's not technically necessary. And so many women are opting out of that placebo week and just continuing from month to month on active tablets.
So basically they only eat the pill three weeks in a month.
They'll take the pill for 3 weeks, but then they'll start the new pack the next day rather than taking a week off. And this enables...
What is the impact of that? Because then you don't give your body the break.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Women don't need as many breaks as popular science might have us believe. So it's very healthy to skip your period and to just continue going on with active tablets over the period of many months. A lot of women are choosing to do this because it can be quite a hassle to be dealing with a period, and it's not always necessary. And luckily, there are not negative health impacts to doing that. People will be recommended maybe every 6 months to take a break. But it's interesting that we're able to program our hormones in a way that's really to our advantage.
So what you're saying, but if some women opt out not taking the placebo pill, so that means they don't have that in between time, and then they still take the pill. So the whole period, then they don't get they're not ovulating.
Exactly. Yeah. So they would suppress ovulation for many months, not deal with a period during that time, and then maybe after 3 months, take a placebo week.
And that's when they ovulate again.
And it's actually interesting. It's not even a true period because there was no ovulation. So it's more accurately just described as a breakthrough bleed.
How does Cadence technology make a difference to these women?
Yeah, so we do a couple of things with our technology. The first is really simple, which is just we have hardware which keeps track of if and when a woman has taken her pill. And since most women will forget at least 1 pill per month, we're able to really be her guide and almost a companion for the pill. So if she forgets, we'll send her reminders until she's remembered to take it. And that's just on a very practical level, the way that we support women day to day. They know if they're getting a reminder from Cadence, it's because they really needed that reminder because they forgot the pill. But we also learned as we were developing this product, there was a pretty surprising clinical study which showed that women overestimate how compliant they are with the pill. So, for example, they might think that they missed 0 or only 1 pill that month, but really they missed 2 to 3. And that discrepancy really explains why people are having unplanned pregnancies when they didn't expect to. And it's kind of scary to imagine that somebody might think that they were taking the pill perfectly when really it's not serving them the way that it needs to. And so through our technology, because we're tracking what time she takes the pill each day, we can also provide really personalized guidance to let somebody know, for example, hey, you are at risk of unplanned pregnancy for the next 7 days. Here's what we would recommend based on the Center for Disease Control guidelines, based on the instructions from the manufacturer. We would recommend, for example, that you use a backup form of contraception for the next 7 days. So not only are we providing those smarter reminders, but we're helping bridge the gap of information and just make it much more easily digestible so that people really feel confident that they're getting the most out of the pill and that they have a much more restored peace of mind.
You recently secured a seed funding for Cadence Digital. Congratulations. Can you tell us more about that and what's next for Cadence?
We were thrilled to close our pre-seed round this summer, and the round was led by Bolt, which is both an investor and a hardware incubator that we've joined, along with a number of really supportive and experienced angels in this space. And so we're so excited to have such a strong investment team supporting us with Cadence. Bolt has a very interesting structure, which has been helpful for us because not only did they lead our round, but they're also providing us with office space, a lab, an engineering team who are very experienced with developing and launching hardware products. And so they've essentially joined our team and are working alongside us to develop our product. So one of our most exciting short-term goals is to launch a beta with Bolt. We are building a number of units of our hardware and sending those units to women all around the country so that they can experience Cadence and provide us with feedback on it. We will then use that data to raise a subsequent round of funding to commercialize the product.
This podcast is sponsored by Edwards Lifesciences, a Silicon Valley-based medtech design and development consultancy, transforming your technologies into unique healthcare solutions. For more information, you can visit their website at www.iolifescience.com. How are you going to reach out to all these women in this country? That can be quite expensive.
Yes, it can be expensive, and it's been interesting for us because one of the questions investors have asked us in the past is this the type of technology that is only relevant in Silicon Valley or in communities that have a lot of Bluetooth connected devices already? One of the joys of doing a direct-to-consumer product, which is Class 1 exempt by FDA, is that we can start to run ads and test how our product will be received nationwide. And so what we've recently been doing is running ads on Facebook, and on our website, women can sign up if they want to be part of the beta. And we've just been overwhelmed by the response that we've gotten nationwide in terms of the number of people and the diversity of people who are signing up to be in our beta who really want to be part of Cadence. And they describe that they want to be part of Cadence because they want help with remembering the pill, but they're also so excited to take their reproductive health into their own hands and really see how we could help them get peace of mind around their management of the pill.
More tools when you need it is so important. So after the beta testing, are you planning to sell it online or through pharmacy, other route to reach your market?
Yeah, so to begin with, we are building an e-commerce website and plan to launch direct to consumer. And the reason that model really works for us is because when women are struggling with the pill or have questions about it, they typically go online first to Google search or to go to Facebook groups to ask questions. There is some hesitation to call a doctor to ask a question about the pill because people don't always have that type of access. And so because of that, we really want to be there for her online and make it as easy as possible for her to order the product from us, and then we'll ship it directly to her door. We also are excited about the potential that we could have for partnerships because there are so many challenges and unmet needs in women's health and even just with managing the pill. And so we could see longer term pursuing a partnership to help us really reach that wider audience. There are 10 million women in the US on the pill at any given time and 100 million women worldwide. And because our mission really is to empower all women, we would be, excited and delighted to find ways to reach as many of them as we could.
When you started the project at Stanford, what was the theme then? Was it women's health that year?
The theme was actually aging and longevity.
Okay.
So we definitely veered off course a little bit, but the way that it happened was very organic. Biodesign each year has 3 teams with 4 people each. And those teams are made up of engineers, which was my background, physicians, business people, people from FDA. And one of those 3 teams is called the specialty team, which means that that team should really be focusing on the field that the physicians work in. And so one of my teammates and co-founder is Janine Furch, and she is a neonatologist. Because we were the specialty team, we spent many weeks doing observations, first in the NICU, but then that led us to labor and delivery, then that led us to the women's health clinic. Then we realized a lot of the NICU babies were actually from unplanned pregnancies because having an unplanned pregnancy does put you at a higher risk of delivering a premature baby. And so it all connected, and it led us to realize, wow, there are a lot of challenges with contraception. What's bothering women the most? And we did a survey with more than 300 women nationwide just to understand what their challenges were. And the biodesign process is so organic because we didn't come in with the idea we're going to reinvent the pill experience. we didn't even realize that that was such a problem until we saw how many women complained about it in the survey. And then once we saw what a big problem that was, we really felt confident that it would be worth going after. So that was really what led us from aging to neonatology, ultimately to reproductive health.
That's very interesting, from something that's really old to like pre-birth.
Exactly. We ran the full spectrum. And, we did, during Biodesign, we pursued a number of needs. And that's where the process is so interesting. The whole philosophy is to find a number of potential projects and have them compete against each other, rather than choosing one thing that you want to do from the start and really forcing a way to make it work. I think that discipline was so helpful for us because it meant, in the end, Cadence, which was, our final project at Biodesign, really did beat out 200 different potential projects. And so we're so confident that it's a great company to move forward with, not just because of all the research we did on the need, but also because we saw how strong it was compared to the other needs that we were considering.
You mentioned earlier that you were engineers, and so you had a degree in mechanical engineers, and you work for a large company. And then now, how has that helped you where you are today? And what are the things that you're learning as you embark on this journey?
Yeah, so my background is in mechanical engineering, and even though I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur or an innovator growing up, I've always loved the intersection between creative arts and math and science. And I also really love helping people. So I chose engineering because I thought it would be so interesting to develop medical devices and really apply my passion for both math and science, but also creativity towards improving the lives of patients worldwide. And
so you knew going in, because some people chose the biomedical and some people chose mechanical engineer.
Right. Yeah, I was interested in biomedical as well, but got advice from a few mentors that mechanical engineering would really enable me to do more than just traditional medical devices. And now that I'm developing a direct-to-consumer hardware product, I see that that's true, and I'm really grateful that I did take that path. My first job was at Edwards Lifesciences, which is a really wonderful structural heart valve company. And I had the chance to do a rotational program with them, which was such a great way to start a career. And through that, I tried manufacturing, R&D, marketing, project management, and I landed in their incubator where we were developing very early stage technology. And so that was where I really got the innovation bug, loved the work that everyone in that incubator was doing, and realized one day I would want to lead that type of thing myself.
And then you left, you went to Earlens.
I did.
And that's an hearing aid company.
Right.
That's a change from the heart to the ear.
That was quite a change because Edwards develops class 3 medical devices. And so when I was at Edwards, we would spend years and years developing a heart valve. And then it was such a success, but really just the first milestone to get that valve into the heart of one patient. And when I moved up to the Bay Area, I thought it would be very interesting to join a different type of company, both in terms of stage and class. And so I joined Earlens, which was a startup, still is a startup, developing a very novel hearing aid technology. And so that was my first experience working with consumer products and connected hardware. And it was so rewarding because in the year that I was there, we went from design verification to a clinical study to launching the product. And so I really got to see that full product life cycle, which has been so helpful to carry that experience to Cadence, because that's what we're doing at Cadence now.
It's interesting is how when you do all these, do you know that this is where you're going to be? Because right now when you look back, all the experience seems to make sense to help you where you are today.
I do agree with you that I feel like each experience has been so instrumental in helping me be ready for the next step. But at the same time, I never would have guessed. If you asked me 5 years ago, I probably thought I was going to be developing heart valves for the rest of my life because that was such a passion for me and still is. And so it's been I think just so exciting to be very open to what opportunities might present themselves. I never would have expected to be doing a direct-to-consumer product in the reproductive health space, but now I feel like that's my biggest passion. And so people even ask me now, do you think you'll stay in the Bay Area forever? Do you think you'll be doing women's reproductive health forever? And I'd love to answer and guess, but the only thing I'm confident about now is we really have no idea what where our life is going to take us or what the path is going to be. Yet each experience really is so helpful with shaping us for the next one.
How do you enjoy being the CEO, the leader where you have to set the direction, and being in a startup, you have to wear multiple hats?
That's right. And I really do love it. I think even when I look back in college, my favorite roles were always those where I was leading a team, getting everybody together, and focusing us towards a shared vision and a shared goal. So, in college, nobody told me that's what an entrepreneur does, that's what a CEO does, but that had always come very naturally to me. And I think it's so rewarding to set the direction and to form a team and really, work together to accomplish a shared goal. And I just am so motivated by my vision for reproductive health that women deserve better and women can have a better future when it comes to their ability to plan their pregnancies and their ability to understand the hormones in their body. And so, being a CEO, you do wear 20 different hats. Sometimes you wear them all on the same day, and it's been so dynamic. And that certainly comes with its challenges because there's so much to learn every single day. But really staying focused on the mission makes me feel like I wouldn't rather be doing anything else. It's probably the most rewarding work I've ever done.
Right. Fundraising, I just want to go back to a bit on the fundraising. The reason I asked that question is it can be really, it's a hard work, and it can, it's hard to take a no all the time, but that's part of the being a CEO. How do you plow through it and keep on at it and not giving up and just take the beat until you get to the finish line?
That's a very fair question because it's true with fundraising, you get no more often than you get yes. And it definitely took a lot of practice and iteration to even learn what's the best way to tell this story to paint the picture of a woman's experience when she finds out she has an unplanned pregnancy to somebody who's never experienced that or maybe never been there themselves. And what I found was actually all of the no's were just so motivating for me, normally because of the reason for the no. Sometimes I would get a no because somebody would think, oh, it's already good enough. We already have a lot of options for contraception, and women are satisfied with those options. And I know so clearly that that's not true, and also know that not everybody sees that. And so that only motivates me more and really makes me believe this technology should exist and deserves a place in the world. Women deserve it. And therefore, it's my job to really find those people who do see that vision with me and really believe in it and want to make the world a better place. And so when people say no, I can understand where they're coming from. And I think, wow, I see why people might think that. And I really want to work hard to shift the way we think about women's reproductive health so that in 10 years, people say, isn't it crazy that we used to have 1 out of 10 women having an unplanned pregnancy and couples being stressed and just relying on your memory? Like, I'm so excited for the time when that seems crazy, and I know that it will. So that's definitely what keeps me marching forward during some of the rejection.
This podcast is sponsored by Edwards Lifesciences, a Silicon Valley-based medtech design and development consultancy, transforming your technologies into unique healthcare solutions. For more information, you can visit their website at www.iolifescience.com. Do you have a support system? After so many no's, how do you keep at it?
I think the community is by far the most important aspect of this journey for me. And I'm so grateful for the communities that I have, and that there are so many people who are willing to take my phone calls and just answer my questions. And when I do have those difficult days, or when we as a team are really feeling challenged, it's so reassuring to be able to talk to other founders and other CEOs and other investors who can just say, we've all been there before. This is normal. This is part of the process. And the community has also been so instrumental in helping me network and fundraise. And I really think it takes a village to do almost anything, but especially a startup. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's probably one of the most important things really in any career, but especially in entrepreneurship. It's not just about, do you have a great idea? Did you make a cool prototype? It really is, are you creating an environment and communities and surrounding yourself with people who are so much more experienced than you, who can help you really make it a reality.
So mentorship, that's probably one of the things that you probably value based on your answer.
Absolutely.
So how do you build that mentorship for you?
Well,
and are you still building it now, even though you got funding?
More than ever. But I've really felt so lucky to be part of a few organizations that have so many people who are willing to mentor. I mean, the Rosenman Innovator Program is such a great example of that, where we have, 20 different people just waiting to talk to you about quality and regulatory and your business plan and your pitch. And I think taking those calls is so important. The Biodesign Alumni Network has an amazingly supportive community, as does MedTech Women, which is an organization that I love working with. And I think it's interesting to remember that mentorship really goes two ways. I find sometimes people are like, I need my mentor. Like, who's that one person and what can they do for me? But I really just try to approach it by building relationships with people of all experience levels, all ages. And sometimes they're really helpful to me. Sometimes I find ways to be very helpful to them. And it's much more of a symbiotic relationship. And I think the best way to foster those is just by showing up. I've gone to plenty of conferences where I didn't know anybody. And then you just start to introduce yourself and meet people. And then next time you go, you have a few friendly faces. So I think it takes a lot of hard work and just showing up, but is really so rewarding in the end.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I did not ask you, you started as an engineer. Do you grow up thinking that I want to be an engineer? Because I think you mentioned that you like science, but there's so many other options in science, but why engineer?
There are so many options. And to be honest, I didn't even know about engineering until I was in high school. So growing up, I really thought I would want to be a doctor. And the reason for that was mostly just because I love helping people and because I love science. And so being a doctor seemed like an interesting way to do that. But then when I was visiting colleges, I started talking to a lot of students and professors, people's parents. And I was just trying to figure out what's the field of medicine where you're doing tons of math all day, every day. And most people laughed at me the way you are because they said, if you want to be doing a lot of math, you should really do engineering, which I hadn't really heard of. So then I looked into it and I saw, wow, that's such an interesting field and career path. And it really did turn out to be a great place for me to start. But I think it would be great, and I still need to find ways to do this myself, to help younger kids really get exposure to engineering, because I think it's something that a lot of people would like. Yet, as a field, it doesn't have as much exposure really until college, at which point some people have chosen their different paths. So I feel, again, back to mentorship, lucky that I just had enough people in my life who saw that that could be something that I would really love and helped me get there.
So none of your parents were engineers, obviously, or not? Or...
Well, no, my mom is a ballet teacher now. Okay. She was a professional ballerina, so that's where that creative side comes in. And my dad loves math and science, and he, would always give me math problems growing up. But his expertise really more is in business and marketing and consulting. And actually, my grandfather was an engineer for some part of his career. But it's funny, we didn't even talk that much about engineering. So I think I have the genes, it was in my background, even if it wasn't something that we talked about a lot growing up.
I think when you're a kid, the conversation is slightly different, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that you surround yourself with wonderful people who can support you. What are the three advice that pop up in your mind right now that you found that was really helpful to get where you are today?
That's a great question. I think one of the biggest pieces of advice that stands out to me, which comes from MedTech women, is just to always take the call. And for me, that speaks to something bigger. They meant, take a meeting if someone asks, say yes to being on the panel if you're invited. But I think it also just means be really open to connections and relationships. And that has been so helpful for me and for Cadence. And so I think, that connects back to the mentorship again, but relationship building really is so important. Another piece of advice that I got as a freshman in college that really stuck with me is to really focus on experiences more than grades or having the perfect GPA, and to focus on things that you love. So I think that advice has always stuck with me because it meant that I focused on doing clubs and activities and really discovering my passions rather than focusing on doing everything perfectly and getting the perfect grades. And those experiences really are what shape each of the steps in our careers. As I was describing with Cadence, oddly enough, developing heart valves and developing hearing aids actually those are great experiences for creating very high quality direct-to-consumer electronics. So I think sometimes people force themselves into what they think they should be doing. And that's even relevant still for me in terms of fundraising and leading. I think there are a lot of examples and stories in the news of how you should pitch and how you should lead. And my mentors have definitely helped me figure out what's the style that's most authentic for me. And then I think a third piece of advice is just to surround yourself with people that are much smarter than you and much more experienced, and not to be afraid of that, but really to see it as such a strength. And that's certainly necessary for me developing software and hardware and an e-commerce brand. I mean, these are all things that I haven't done before. So surrounding myself with real experts who have had that experience and also really believe in my vision has been very instrumental.
Right. So I oftentimes learn that when you're really busy, there's always room for doing fun things. Like, is there other extracurricular activities that you're doing in terms of supporting the community? Is there other things that you're doing besides Cadence right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I found that it's so important to hold on to those things. I'll admit for the first 6 months of Cadence, I dropped everything in my life and I worked nights and weekends, and that felt necessary for survival. But then I saw that by focusing less on my activities and relationships, it actually made me less able to show up my strongest self to work each day. So some of the activities that I love doing now are dance and yoga and things that are just much more mindful and much more creative. I also work with both MedTech Women and the Biodesign Alumni Association, and I really love working with both of those organizations to create programming. And I'm really trying to bring a perspective that prioritizes diversity for both of those organizations. And it's amazing how easy it is when you're even planning a panel. If you're just thinking about diversity, you consider a whole new group of people who are just as qualified, if not more, to be sharing their perspectives. And I also try to seek out, new biodesign fellows and people who are new to MedTech Women and try to give back some of that mentorship that I've been so fortunate to receive.
Last question. What's on your reading list?
I just finished Bad Blood, which was a fascinating story. And I would definitely recommend it to any entrepreneur or any person in the medtech community. I feel like that's on a lot of lists right now. And a lot of the books that I read are more around, business and startups. But one that I really loved reading was The Hard Thing About Hard Things, because he shares a lot of vulnerable stories and difficult times. And you just realize even some of the people who are the most successful in the world are going through the same things that we're going through. And so that was very, I think, reassuring to read.
Yeah.
And then for fun books, I recently finished Little Fires Everywhere, which was a good one. So I'd recommend that.
Okay.
Reese Witherspoon is making it into a series for HBO, and I love her work, and she's really pioneering her mission right now, which is to get more women's stories on TV and movies, and I think she's doing a great job with that. So always try to follow her work.
Okay, well, great. Well, that's a good 3 books. Two. I've read The Bad Blood already,
Yeah.
but the other 2 that will be good for me to read next couple of months. So, well, thank you. It's been really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.